So I'm sitting here on top of this moraine on the side of Mount Rainier, and I gotta say, I'm so full of anger and sadness. You know, you hear that marmot over there? You hear that high-pitched whistle? This is what the marmot's living with. This is what the natural world is living with. This glacier up here used to reach all the way down the valley to here within the last 10 years. That's like half a mile, maybe a mile of retreat, just this one glacier. And you see how big this is? This thing is massive. You know, if there were a person over there standing at the base of it, they'd be a little tiny dot. And we've seen that much ice melt in the past 10 years. I interviewed, and there goes the hawk over here, coming across this little meadow. These birds flying across. The natural world is getting decimated by this culture. The natural world is just being absolutely destroyed. Wow, this hawk's coming right in here. Oh, he just saw me. Cooper's hawk, I think. Taking a look at these little birds. You see him? It just makes me so sad and so angry what this culture is doing to the planet. This culture is ripping this planet to shreds right now, you know? And people aren't willing to say that. Nobody's willing to recognize that fact. You know, nobody's willing to talk about it. Even the people who do, they sort of couch it in this very diplomatic language. They make it sound, like, yes, we have this crisis of, we can't do that anymore. This planet is being utterly destroyed. And incredibly rapidly, And I'm up here, I'm leading this trip with these kids, backpacking, trying to help teach them some love for the natural world, trying to get them out here, out of the culture, out of their heads, out of this digital world that they live in that's constructed for the purposes of profit, the video games and the YouTube and all that stuff, which I grew up with too. We all grew up with that. But, one of my favorite lines from all of music is, "Don't blame me, I was given this world, I didn't make it." And I love that line, and to me that doesn't mean you don't have a responsibility, because we do have a responsibility. But the point is, I was born into this world with cars. My responsibility is not to be pure, to somehow, get rid of everything myself and live this pure life. And, there's nothing wrong with that. I try and do that. I encourage people to do that. But much more important, much more central, much more critical is to fight car culture as a whole. We got to destroy these things that are killing the planet. We got to fight them. And people are living in this world in which they think this culture, the dominant culture, is going to stop voluntarily? Stop destroying the planet voluntarily? You think that's going to happen? That's total bullshit. It's never going to happen. Look at this. I mean, you go back to the 80s, and we saw, the American president acknowledging the fact that this culture was addicted to energy and consumerism and consumption, and that, we were coming to define this country was defining our wealth based on material goods, and he said we gotta try and change that. And what happened? He lost the election, and the American people doubled down, because the American people understood that's what this nation is built on: accumulation, wealth, private property. And if anything gets in the way of that, fuck it, destroy it, cut it down, burn it down, build the development, build the skyscraper, build more cars. Nobody's gonna stop us. That's the mindset of this culture, and if you get in its way, then you better watch out. That's the reality. And this mountain's in the way. These glaciers are in the way. All the old growth forests are in the way. The indigenous people are in the way. The people of Iraq and Afghanistan are in the way. The people of Guatemala have been in the way. You know? That's what this culture does. It destroys, it consumes relentlessly. And it's not going to stop just because global warming is happening, because it recognizes that these issues, are... the reason that global warming is such a big focus for environmentalists these days is only because it threatens industrial civilization. Species extinction doesn't threaten industrial civilization, not directly, not like global warming does, and we don't hear shit about that. Maybe 1-2 articles a year in the newspaper, buried on like page 22 or something like that. The only reason that global warming gets more play, that it gets a little bit, that it gets some government action, is because they recognize, we're not going to be able to grow enough crops for everybody. We're not going to be able to get all the raw materials we need. We're not going to be able to exploit the world as effectively. Why do you think the U.S. military is saying, global warming's a big issue? We got to pay attention to this in all their reports. They're saying it because they recognize the fact that global warming is going to create, mass migration, it's going to create conflict, it's going to create war, it's going to create all these issues that they have to deal with in one way or another, and that they are dealing with already. That's why they're paying attention to it, is because it affects their ability to project domination and to project imperial power. This culture is not going to give up destroying these glaciers voluntarily. They're only going to do it if they're stopped, if they're forced to stop. Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand, never has and never will. That was what, 150 years ago? It's no different now. It is no different now. So we need, everybody needs to give up on their false illusions to the fact that this is going to be clean and nice and everything's going to get better. Government's going to take care of it. Corporations are taking action. That's bullshit. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. They're doing half-hearted, foolish, false solution shit. It's not going anywhere. They're about protecting themselves, protecting their bottom lines. And if we care about the living world, if we care about our kin, if we care about the marmot and these trees and that hawk and these birds and these meadows and these glaciers and these mountains and these waterfalls and all these creatures who are our kin, who share our DNA, who we grew up with in this world as a species for millions of years, then we gotta fight. We gotta fight for them. We can't compromise. We can't get sucked into that false solutions bullshit. We can't get sucked into believing that somebody else is gonna do it for us. We gotta fight. We got to dismantle the actual physical systems that are destroying this. You know what I mean? Fossil fuel infrastructure, car culture, consumerism, global capitalism, global shipping, communications, transportation, global finance, banking. You think the banks give a fuck about this? The fact that the bankers have enough money to come out here and recreate, do you think they would give a fuck about destroying one of these places? And if they did, you know how fast they're going to be replaced? You know how fast somebody else is going to come in and say, yeah, I'll do that, I'll destroy it. Give me the money, hand it over. It's up to us, that's all I got to say.